What is up, guys? Wrestling Premier is here. Personally, I always felt this was probably the most competitive feud in the history of WWE, along with Bret and Shawn, Christian and Randy Orton, those kinds of feuds where those guys try to one-up each other each match. I believe every match these two had was a classic. They could do no wrong. The moment these two step into a ring, you're guaranteed to have a banger. I could go on and on as to why these two are perhaps some of the greatest. Well, we've got a video to make. Now, I completely forgot about this one. I assumed I covered it in this video. That was only 3 minutes, and it was just a small overview. There's no doubt in my mind that these two deserve a complete video for this feud, and that's what I'm doing today. It's obviously clear, and I didn't need to say that. With that said, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar are some of my favorites. Sure, Lesnar right now compared to 2003 is a different kind, but I still enjoy nearly, keyword, nearly every match of his. You don't know what you're going to get in his matches, but when he's in there, it's almost, and I have to say it again, keyword almost, certainly going to be a memorable match. In the last decade, Lesnar's been involved in some of my favorite matches. The John Cena matches, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan. Basically, you get what I'm saying. Obviously, I wish he was around more often, but that would probably kill that big feeling, that aura he has when he comes out to the ring. Anyways, Lesnar and Angle, let's get into it. As you all know, Brock Lesnar had just debuted in 2002, and he was given the push of all pushes. Compared to the guys that came previously, they pale in comparison to the Beast's road to SummerSlam. He went through the Hardys, Hulk Hogan, Test, everyone in sight. At SummerSlam, he dethroned The Rock to become the new WWE Champion, and it was that moment a star was made. Following the victory, the Rookie beat The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell, and WWE decided to turn him into a babyface. It's because they wanted him to represent the company as the top good guy, and plus he looked like a really badass mofo with the track pants and the t-shirt. You knew it was gonna go down when he came out wearing those clothes. As for Kurt Angle at this point, he was bald and still clumsy. He was saying that he likes to play with boys, and overall he was so damn hilarious. Now, around this time period, WWE began preparing for WrestleMania 19, and the plans were for Angle and Lesnar to clash. This would make Lesnar a megastar, and it was basically the official coronation. Think of it like Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. He already beaten some top guys, and he was actually a champion beforehand, but this was the official moment where he was the biggest star in the company. Now that you have an idea of where Angle and Brock were at this point, let me explain how they crossed paths. After wrongfully losing the WWE Championship to The Big Show, and this was because Paul Heyman turned on Lesnar, the Beast was hell-bent on returning the favorites of both men. So later that night, Lesnar sprinted out there and tried to dismantle The Big Show. This was after Heyman mentioned that he put in a clause in Lesnar's contract stating that he cannot get a rematch for the title if he lost it. Stephanie, though, wasn't pleased with Lesnar's actions, and she threatened to suspend him. She gave him a final warning, and it seemed like Lesnar was going to back off, but at the end of the night, Lesnar interfered in Big Show's title match against Edge and connected with the F5. Now, a little side note, Brock at this point was manhandling the Big Show. He was one of the only guys that I've seen lift Big Show like nothing. Belly to bellies, overthrows, F5s, all that. Heyman, though, was panicking. It was like he saw into the future and witnessed December to dismember. Lesnar ran after the slime ball, but once he reached the parking lot, Heyman escaped in a limo. The following week, Stephanie suspended Lesnar indefinitely. Kurt Angle, meanwhile, was plotting. He was trying to figure out what PMS meant. Lesnar continued to try finding ways to seek revenge on the Big Show, and he did succeed, but Brock was going to pay the price for disobeying the boss's orders. As for Angle, he won the right to face Big Show at Armageddon. He believed that he didn't really have a good chance against a motivated Big Show, so he tried enlisting the help of the suspended Brock Lesnar. Stephanie then lifted Lesnar's suspension for Armageddon, and at one point Angle tried convincing Lesnar to be on his side, but I can't find it on the network on this picture during the promo of the match. Lesnar said that he'll consider it, and Angle at this point, well, he didn't get his answer, so he showed Brock footage of Survivor Series, and he promised to return the favor to Lesnar, a title shot, if he was in his corner. As for that match, Brock did come out near the end, and he F5'd Big Show before chasing his former manager. Angle then covered Big Show, and he finally won the title. Now, this was Angle's third WWE Championship and his fourth World Championship. On that week's SmackDown, Kurt Angle came out to celebrate his WWE Championship victory. In everyone's eyes, he was a face once again, and Brock Lesnar then came out and Angle teased the match between both men. The champ claimed that he was a man of his word, which meant Lesnar is the first man to get a title shot. Lesnar was loving this. He was finally going to get the title shot for the title he wrongfully lost. Brock was like, yeah, I want that title shot here tonight. Angle agreed, but then he said that it's not going to happen. Angle used this match against Benoit as an excuse, but he promised he's going to face Lesnar first next week on SmackDown. The fans weren't exactly liking the idea, and Brock was impatient, but he accepted. But then, things took a turn for the worst. Not for Angle, but for Brock. When Kurt Angle came out to the ring later that night, he revealed his new manager, Paul Heyman. Angle sides with the same man that was against him. The fans weren't pleased with this, and so was Lesnar. First of all, Heyman was happy to have screwed Lesnar twice. Second, he postponed the Lesnar-Angle match to indefinitely. Basically, it's never going to happen. Then the Big Show came out, and shockingly, he didn't turn face. Heyman convinced him to be on their side, and he obliged. This was after Heyman told him that they'll have bargaining power, and they'll get a title shot against Angle the next week. Brock Lesnar wasn't excited about this new alliance, so he ran out to the ring in the track pants once again, and he attempted to obliterate all three men, but he failed in his efforts. But then on the final SmackDown 2002, it was revealed right after the show went off the air, Angle suffered an injury. Alright, let me explain things. So, the trio were celebrating, right? Then Lesnar all of a sudden gained some strength and destroyed both Big Show and Kurt Angle, and as a matter of fact, Lesnar F5'd Angle into the ring post, therefore shattering Kurt Angle's knee. I mean, you played him like a violin, like what'd you expect him to do? Seeing as Angle was out of action, Paul Heyman brought out a late Christmas gift for his client. The gift? It was Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. These three were collectively known as Team Angle. Heyman explained just who these men were. He listed their accolades and accomplishments, and Angle was thrilled. Like, these guys are just like a younger version of me. The champ declared checkmate on Lesnar, and it seemed like there was no way for Lesnar to get a title shot. But there was. He was going to have to enter the Royal Rumble and win it. But for him to enter the match, he had to beat the Big Show. Obviously, you know the results of this match. Anyways, Lesnar once again threw Big Show around like a sack of potatoes. And sure, Big Show had the upper hand, and Heyman did interfere. But despite all of this, Brock managed to finally beat Big Show to win a spot in a Rumble match. Later that night, Lesnar entered at number 29, and he dominated. He clotheslined Team Angle right out of there, and he F5'd Matt Hardy right onto them. And a little side note, you guys down for a Matt Hardy version 1 video? Back to Lesnar. Now, did he struggle during the match? Yes. But did it hurt him in the long run? No, because in the end, he outlasted 29 men, and for some reason, they played Falling Apart, the pay-per-view's theme song, for a few seconds before playing Lesnar's music. The Undertaker endorsed Brock Lesnar, and now he's finally got the opportunity to regain the title that he wrongfully lost. As for Kurt Angle, he had a classic against Benoit, and he was serving as a mentor to Shelton and Charlie. That coaching from Angle brought the duo the WWE Tag Team Championships, and so at this point, Team Angle was dripping in gold. As for Lesnar, he continued to deliver ass-kickings to the heels on the roster. He saved Benoit and Edge from a Team Angle attack, and this led to a 6-man tag team match at No Way Out, pitting Team Angle versus Edge, Benoit, and Lesnar. Heading into the event, Brock Lesnar faced all three men in a gauntlet match. He went through both Charlie and Shelton, and he beat Shelton with the Angle Slam, sending a message to the champion. But when it was time for Kurt to enter the ring, he was fuming. Right when the bell rang, Heyman from out of nowhere blasted him with a chair to cause the DQ, and Angle pounced on him. Team Angle returned, and they managed to neutralize Brock before Edge and Benoit came out to make the save. As for the tag match, it became a handicap match after Edge was found unconscious. In reality, Edge was unable to compete as he was set to undergo surgery for his neck. So it was a handicap match, and what a match it was. I've never seen a handicap match as good as this one. Then again, you gotta look at the workers. Pure wrestlers, so it would have been shocking if it sucked. Anyways, they give us a little preview of the WrestleMania main event, and Lesnar was plowing through Team Angle throughout the match. Near the end, Lesnar had so much momentum, and any Team Angle member standing was clotheslined and thrown into the ropes. Anyways, Lesnar F5'd Kurt, and Benoit made Haas tap out to emerge victorious. So Angle showed some vulnerability heading into WrestleMania. Now, at this point in real life, Kurt Angle was in a lot of pain. He struggled to get through the date, and before I talk about this, Brock Lesnar had the opportunity to choose his opponent in a steel cage match. And he didn't choose Kurt Angle. He chose Paul Heyman. Now, if Brock beat Paul Heyman, then he gets his title match the following week. As for Paul Heyman, well, rest in peace. Did Team Angle interfere? Yes. But did it affect the result of the match? Not really. Now, the title match was pushed to the following week. And as for the title match, well, this is what Angle had to say about it. And I quote, "I was over at my neighbor's house about 2 days before that SmackDown match where I was supposed to drop the title to Brock, which was a week before WrestleMania. A good friend of mine who has Down syndrome came up to me. He started crying. He said, 'I heard you're not wrestling Brock at WrestleMania,' and he held up a DirecTV cover that had Brock and I facing off. And the kid made me cry. The moment I literally called Vince right then, I said, 'Listen, let me go at Mania. I could do this. Have Brock and I go out there and do it. I'll drop the belt to Brock.' I wasn't supposed to lose the title to Brock. I was supposed to continue to be the champion. But because of my neck injury, I was going to drop it to Brock. I talked to Vince into having the match, so the whole rumor, I'm sure it was true. I was supposed to lose to Brock at the SmackDown before Mania, then he was going to go in as champion at WrestleMania and probably face Chris Benoit. I'm sure that's where they were going to go, but thank God Vince listened to me. He said, 'Okay, you take care of yourself in this match because I don't want anything bad to happen to you.' I said, 'Don't worry about anything, Vince. I'll get through and I'll have the surgery afterwards.' So that's what we did. Wow. Now, Angle believes he was going to walk out of WrestleMania as the champion. But looking at how Lesnar was booked, I doubt it. But I'm not a wrestler or the booker to know these things. I'm just a guy that reads this stuff on the internet. Anyways, the match didn't end without controversy. Angle struggled to get into the match, and Lesnar beat him in seconds. Well, that's what everyone thought, but then Brock canceled the pin. This was because that wasn't Kurt Angle. So he tried searching for the real Kurt, and in the ring, it was a switcheroo. Kurt got the small package, and he caught Lesnar off guard to retain the title. Brock was seething, and Angle was elated. No WrestleMania for Brock, I guess? But the title match was still on. Stephanie said that if Angle tries any dubious tactics, such as involving Team Angle or his brother, then he forfeits the title to Lesnar. Why did she do this? Well, she believed that both Lesnar and Angle owed it to the fans to have a classic because they were simply capable of it. Then Brock came out and he clotheslined the hell out of the injured brother, but then he was on the receiving end of a low blow and Angle blasted him in the head with a crutch. Kurt then Angle slammed the challenger through a steel chair and then he drove his knee right into Lesnar's back, sending him a message. So basically, Lesnar had the momentum, but Kurt showed his experience and his dirty side, and that might be what will help him at WrestleMania. On the final SmackDown before WrestleMania, Kurt let Brock know that sure, we're a lot alike, but the big difference is that Brock is still a kid. This Sunday, whether Angle or Brock wins, that match will change wrestling forever. He started to put fear into Lesnar's head, stating that, yeah, if you end my career Sunday, it doesn't matter, I've done it all. But Brock, this is your first WrestleMania, and it could very well be your last. He let Brock know that he won't have any second thoughts in trying to end his career on that night. The challenger's response, well, he said that he's coming for Kurt and he's coming for his title, and he prays that he brings everything he's got. He's willing to put it all on the line for the title. At the end of the night, John Cena, who at this point had just returned, issued a challenge to Lesnar. He walked straight up to him and they brawled, but then the champion from out of nowhere blasted Brock with a 2x4. So basically, Lesnar's ribs were hurting him heading into the event. Angle's plan was working. As for the match at WrestleMania, one of my favorite main events. Could it have been better? Sure. Once you realize the state of Kurt Angle at this point, well, it's a miracle that they managed to have a classic. This was Angle's first WrestleMania match, and he deserved it. I mean, he delayed surgery in order to help establish Brock, and he did it for the company. I assume, like, if you were watching this and you were unaware of Angle's neck issues, then you'd think he was 100%. Anyways, this match featured chain wrestling. Brock was hitting power moves. Kurt was targeting the ribs, and it had it all. Brock sold the ribs like $1 million. There were finisher kickouts, and it was all good. But then, Lesnar did this. Seeing as he successfully hit this a number of times beforehand, it wasn't expected to go wrong, but he was unlucky on this night. The night of all nights, WrestleMania, it just went wrong. First of all, Angle was a bit far away, and second, a 300-pound man shouldn't be flying in the air like that. This knocked out Lesnar, and Angle almost accidentally won this one, but Lesnar raised his arm at the final second. At this point, both men were hurt and spent. Lesnar almost got paralyzed, and Angle, his neck was killing him. So they wrapped things up with an F5, a third one, and Brock barely covered Angle to win this one. Now, watching these matches and reading Lesnar's book a while ago, I get why he doesn't wrestle full time. I mean, he nearly paralyzed himself, and he barely remembers this whole run in general. Anyways, both men hugged one another to end WrestleMania. Immediately afterwards, Angle was set to undergo surgery to alleviate the pain in his neck. Now, how long was Angle supposed to be out? Well, some say a year, but for some reason he took an alternate surgery, which left him on the sidelines for only 2 months. Plus, he was going to recover from a torn hamstring and a couple of other injuries, I believe. Now, Angle, he didn't want a spinal cord fusion as it would take a year for him to recover and instead opted for an alternate surgery. On the June 5th, 2003 episode of SmackDown, Kurt Angle finally returned to the WWE. The fans missed him and they were very happy to see him back. So at this point, he wasn't heel anymore. His reason for returning, well, it's simple. He wanted to be champion again. Big Show, though, didn't agree with Angle and he told him to wait in line. And he said that when he beats Brock, he might give him a title shot, and then maybe he'll send him back to the hospital. Angle, though, wasn't worried. He was disturbed by Big Show, not because of his threats, but because of how close to his face was, so he handed him a breast strip. Angle, though, got serious, and like Stone Cold, he asked the fans to give him a "you suck" if they want him to deliver a can of whoop-ass on the Big Show. They shouted "you suck" about Big Show at other plans. But then Lesnar came out, and Big Show backed off. Lesnar spoke to Angle for a bit, and he was ready to face Angle for that title anytime he wanted. Angle let Brock know that he's going to be at the top of his game when he faces him, and then Kurt thanked Brock for being there for him. They showed respect to one another, and this seemed like a new chapter in this feud. As for that Lesnar-Big Show title match, well, they broke the ring. Looking at this moment, it's one of a kind. It can't be replicated. Taz shouting holy, the fans chanting it too. It made for a very special moment, and who knows, maybe it is the best SmackDown moment ever. Depends on what you think. Following this match, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar began to have some entertaining moments. This thing didn't even last long, but it's one of the most memorable moments in Lesnar and Angle's careers. Brock showed more personality in this segment than he has in the last 8 years. Well, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I just remembered the Boombox Brock from a year ago. That was awesome. Let me mention some of these moments. Like this moment. Angle's awkward. They were both competitive, and looking back, I wish we got to see more of this. Eventually, a match was made for vengeance. Brock Lesnar, the champ, versus the Big Show and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match for the title. Now, was there tension between Angle and Lesnar at this point? Yeah, but they were still buddies. Big Show, though, was the roadblock. They had to neutralize him in order to determine just who the best in the company was. As for that triple threat match, it was just special. I often forget just how good this match was. Angle, Lesnar, and Big Show just went out there and brought us a memorable bout. It seemed like the Big Show was the most unstoppable guy in the world. Angle and Lesnar were resilient, though, and in the end, it was Kurt Angle who angle slammed both men and covered Brock Lesnar to capture the WWE Championship for the 4th time. From neck surgery to champion. Now, following vengeance, Vince was looking to tear this friendship apart. Brock, though, wasn't pleased with this, and he wanted a match with Vince. The boss accepted the challenge, and seeing as Vince said some things about Angle, there was some tension between the former champ and the current champ after Angle tagged himself in to win their matchup. Lesnar F5'd Angle, and then Vince came out and announced that the match with Lesnar is going to be a steel cage match, and the special referee is going to be Brock's friend, Kurt Angle. The champ did have a motive for why he could screw over Brock, but he was a man of integrity, so there was doubt over that. Meanwhile, Vince was doing this. That's another story for another day, but a few minutes later, we find an unconscious Brock Lesnar. Vince was like, Angle, did you do it? He denied the accusations made towards him, and to add fuel to the fire, Kurt Angle was seen walking out of Vince's office. As for the cage match, Lesnar was fuming. Now, looking at the big picture, it seemed like there was a pact between Vince and Kurt. As for the match, Lesnar was going to make quick work of the boss, but he collapsed in the middle of the ring. Vince wanted to cover him, but Angle thought this wasn't the appropriate moment for a cover. He refused to count the fall, and the fans were chanting, asshole, asshole. Kurt signaled for help, and Vince grew impatient with Angle, so he shoved and slapped him. The champ decided to cross the boss by locking him in the angle lock, and meanwhile, Brock Lesnar kicked up and decided to F5 his best friend. He grabbed Vince and they were laughing, and Brock then tossed Angle side to side, bouncing his head off the cage, and wrapped up this assault by blasting Angle with the title belt before launching him into the steel cage once again. Now, one thing I really like about this feud is the fact that both men played both roles. And plus, this was the real Brock Lesnar. The guy who was absolutely remorseless, the guy who doesn't give a damn who you are, he will destroy you. Lesnar gave everyone an explanation the following week, and he said that Angle was useless. He said that the moment Angle took away the title from him, he was no longer his friend. Brock let the fans know that they and Kurt Angle have one thing in common. They suck. And then Vince booked the title match for SummerSlam. Now at this point, Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't say it was Vince's lackey, but he was with him at this point. He reverted to his very vicious side, destroying anyone in sight. The most memorable moment was probably the night Brock Lesnar faced Zach Gowen. It was simply gruesome. His mother was watching on, and Brock had no chill. He claimed that he was going to break the leg, and you gotta believe him. You already know what he's capable of. As for the match, it was a massacre. Power bombs, a brutal chair shot, and the blood. It was in abundance. He was delivering headbutts to a lifeless Zach Gowen. He was delivering F5s, chair shots to the leg, and Zach Gowen's blood was on Brock's hands. Or face. He was proud of it. But that wasn't it. As Zach was getting wheeled out of there, Brock pushed him off the stretcher. It's simply one of the most brutal segments in the history of the company. The amount of blood Zach Gowen lost, and the fact that Lesnar was attacking an amputee. As for Kurt Angle, he barely beat Big Show in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So heading into the pay-per-view, it was Lesnar who had the upper hand. As for the SummerSlam match, it's a favorite of mine. Lesnar was working like a bully, and the monster targeted Angle's back. He used power moves, and he made Angle struggle. The champion, though, capitalized on Brock's mistakes, especially this one, and he targeted the shoulder for a bit before going for the leg. Brock was selling well, and it was overall a very enjoyable match. Now, for some reason, I'm not sure about you, but for me, I prefer this one to the WrestleMania match. Maybe it's because of the role reversal. We got to see the actual Brock Lesnar and the actual Kurt Angle, I guess. The Olympic hero versus the remorseless, the real Brock Lesnar. In the end, Angle locked Brock in the ankle lock, and he was hell-bent on destroying that ankle, but then the ref got knocked down and Vince got involved. Kurt, though, bounced back with the ankle lock once again, and Lesnar tried escaping. He reached the ropes, but Angle pulled him away, and in the end, he tapped out. Then after the match, Kurt Angle slammed his boss on a chair, and I guess this was a way of wishing his boss happy birthday. Now, I'm not sure about this, but was this the only time Lesnar tapped out? I feel like Chris Benoit made him tap out later on. But other than those two moments, I don't think he ever tapped. made Angle look like a billion bucks. Brock wasn't happy about the result of the match, and then he lost a number 1 contenders match, so he decided to interfere in the title bout between Taker and Angle. By the way, that match was tremendous. He used a steel chair on both men, and he made his intentions clear. You wanted the title. Later that night, Vince made a match between Angle and Lesnar for the title, and it will be a 1-hour Ironman matchup. After hearing this, Brock thanked Vince, and a little side note, earlier that night, Vince slapped some sense into the beast. Brock kidnapped Zach Gowen, and he was absolutely remorseless. He decided to prove that he's a monster by assisting Zach Gowen to the back, and a defenseless Zach Gowen was then thrown off the wheelchair. Brock then tried destroying the leg, and he choked him, and in the end, he threw him off the stairs. Now, this is what you get for signing with WWE, I guess. Damn, that ain't PG. That ain't even TV 14. He threw him up the stairs, and the damn wheelchair fell on top of his back. Poor guy. This Brock Lesnar was the best Brock Lesnar. I'm telling you. He was a different kind of beast compared to the guys on the roster. As for the Ironman match, what were you thinking? It was a pure classic. I mean, it was probably the best match these two had, and it's one of my favorite Ironman matches, along with the Sasha and Bayley, Cena and Orton. I would have mentioned Rock and Triple H, but I watched that one a long time ago, so I can't really give my opinion on it. Now, I would give you guys a play-by-play analysis of this match, but I think that needs to be a video in itself. I mean, if you guys want it, I'll probably make it as bonus content, because I'm not sure how many of you guys like play-by-play. Anyways, there was some cheating on Lesnar's part, there were some mission holds, and they were smart in their tactics. They tried to preserve their stamina, and overall, it was a SmackDown classic. Probably the best TV match ever. In the end, Angle started to gain momentum, but he was behind. He was hitting Germans, but this wasn't really helping him. And then Lesnar delivered a low blow with 30 seconds left, and the fans were on Angle's side. He locked Brock in the ankle lock with 15 seconds left, but the Beast held on, and he ended up winning this Ironman match to win the WWE Championship for a 3rd time. Now, Lesnar's mindset during this match was, screw being a good athlete, and it ended up working out well for him. Throughout the match, he cheated, he blasted Angle with a title, and he used low blows and stuff like that, and in the end, he got him the win. Got him the victory. That's the feud. They did interact with one another afterwards, but this was the end of the competitive feud. They did clash in Japan, which is a whole other story for another day. Brock Lesnar New Japan Pro Wrestling is so random, if you think about it. Anyways, like I said, that's a whole story for another day, and I wish I could make one in the near future. Anyways, this feud helped both Angle and Brock. Angle's star power increased afterwards as if it already wasn't, and Lesnar was going to be a main event mainstay, but things happened. So yeah, this is one of my favorite feuds in the history of this company, and I wish we get a 2K showcase for this one. Like, I know 2K has started to half-ass them recently. This one deserves to be a showcase of its own. Anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a Angle slam on the like button, and perhaps a F5 on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.